Hi everyone. Wanted to go over week 1 writing assignment and give you guys some examples of this. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see the assignment. Okay, so as you can see, this writing assignment is about designing a research study. It is meant to go along with Learning Goals 1.1 to 1.4, which is basically looking specifically at theories and research. So for this assignment, it has the prompt of you designing a research study. This is not something that you ever have to do, but it could be something that you're interested in. So first you have to come up with a research question or problem. So what is it that you're studying? The example that I've given my classes this week is I'm very interested in how technology impacts the way that children learn. So my research question or problem would be, how does technology impact the way that children learn? Number 2 looks at, am I doing an experiment? This might be difficult because of the fact of ethics. Obviously, we don't want to mess with children's learning abilities. However, if you had a teacher who was looking to integrate a new technology in her classroom and to compare technology-based face-to-face, you might find that there's definitely a difference between the technology side as well as the face-to-face side. So if we were doing an experiment, we would have to identify variables and talk about one as independent or dependent. So obviously in this, learning is going to be our dependent variable. The independent is going to be the technology used, and then the control will be what's normally happening, face-to-face learning, okay? Operational definition is basically looking at very specifics of what technology or what online learning looks like. So you would give examples of that and you would define how that works. Your hypothesis is what you expect to find. So for me, I honestly believe it depends on the child. Some kids are going to thrive in either, some are going to thrive in one or the other. But my hypothesis might be, I feel that children, especially young children, learn better face-to-face than they do online. So that would be my hypothesis, what I expect to find. If I'm doing an experiment, I'm looking at question number 5, then that would be my developmental design. However, I could look at learning over time, which would be longitudinal. I could grab a whole school of kids and compare kids that were learning online versus kids that were learning face-to-face at the same time, and that would be cross-sectional. And those are the two that I would look at, either longitudinal, cross-sectional, or experimental. They are the easiest ones to work through this writing assignment with. Population is who you're studying. So your population is the whole group. So if you're looking at learning, you might be a whole school, a whole class, and then the sample would be a smaller part of that population. So your sample is going to be kids that would fit the criteria of the whole population. So demographically speaking, age, sex, learning ability, as well as ethnicity, all of those could be looked at in terms of making sure that your sample is reflective of your population. And then when it comes to data gathering, how will you collect this data? So if I were doing online learning versus face-to-face, I could use an assessment of sorts. It could be a quiz, or it could even be what their, quote, grades are at the end of the semester, okay? How would I describe, diagram, or explain it? It's basically putting it out there. So I would walk myself through all of the steps and what would be done. And then number 9 addresses how or what you think will happen. So what do you think the results will be? And this is an opinion-based. There is no right or wrong answer. It's going to be your opinion. And then the last one is minimizing bias. Researcher can minimize bias by either using multiple observations or multiple observers or multiple assessments. All of those, if you find that they are getting the same answer each time, are going to minimize the bias in the study. So for this writing assignment, you're basically going to walk me through how you would do a research study. Again, you do not have to do it, but it is something that you probably are interested in. So I'd like you guys to complete this in a Word doc and then submit it to the Moodle classroom. And that is how you do this assignment. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out and touch base with me, and we can go over it in more depth. Thanks, guys.